Yeah, dude. So, welcome, Ali Zebian.
Thank
Right?
you
Is
for
that how
having
you
me.
say it? Ali
Yes.
Zebian? There
Yep.
you go. Jameson behind the mic.
What
Young Jamie Doo back in the fucking saddle. So let's get started, man. We were just chatting here. We're talking about ankle injury.
Bro,
We're talking about all the good stuff.
So gnarly,
Um,
so gnarly. I sent it to you on Instagram.
Instagram?
So,
Yeah.
So you can like show Ali.
Actually, yeah, here.
Bro,
For those of you who don't know,
nuts.
Ali's which Instagram did you send it to? My main one.
Yeah.
Bellator fighter, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
Holy shit. And shout out to Matt Basinger for actually introducing me to you. And you said you've known him for quite many years.
Many years, yeah.
Here, yeah, check that out. I mean, it's kind of something that I'm sure injuries are something we gotta always avoid.
Oh yeah. And
Bro.
this was recent?
That happened on like Friday. It just,
Wow.
dude, I can't believe like that came on so quick. Like I feel like normal you have time to react to that, but that's nuts.
Yeah, that doesn't even. It just happened, man.
It's just
That's
like boom, and it's like
Oh.
shit, dude.
Yeah, it's one of those freak incidents, man. They happen,
Yeah.
but it's rare, but it happens. Definitely happens for sure. But that's why I always preach. You gotta lift in the gym.
Yeah,
That
I know.
keeps
I
you
like
protected.
your saying on Instagram.
Yeah.
I pick things up and put things down,
Yeah.
and it's probably very against like the norm, in a sense for somebody who's practicing MMA.
Oh,
I should say
definitely.
like
It's not the norm. It's not
no.
the norm. No.
So,
'cause,
but
yeah.
you live by that a little bit then.
Oh,
huh?
definitely. I live by that for sure.
So how'd you get started in all this? Let's get some backstory on you because you're the first person I've ever actually met who's competed at least. We'll say as far as MMA goes. I know you've competed, Jameson, but
Yeah, but
mostly
it's not
just
striking, it's
jiu-jitsu.
just
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, yeah.
you're doing striking, kicking,
Yeah,
everything.
Honestly, in the area we live in, it's not the most popular thing. So when I was coming up, maybe 16 is when I really started to like get interested into it. And, I was like interested. I saw the UFC, messing around with friends in my basement, just like punching and stuff. And in the area, there's not many gyms, so eventually where I am right now, I had to open my own gym and do it or start in my basement and do it. And I, the first initial stuff was starting out with wrestling in high school because I wanted to do this
That's
so
kind of
bad.
that was the spark for you.
Yeah. I was in Ludlow actually, training the BJJ. That was like actually my first thing, but
Who's the guy who lives in Ludlow who went to UFC? You probably know the guy.
Gabriel Gonzaga.
Gabriel
I was with
Gonzaga.
that team over there, and
You
my
ever
dad
meet him?
just Oh yeah, of course, yeah. My dad just didn't want to bring me all the way over there, so it
Oh,
was too
shit.
far of a drive. So I ended up just like, all right, high school wrestling right there.
Yeah.
So I did it. I started with that, and it's kind of crazy. Like that kind of depicted my style in my fighting, because I'm more of like a ground and pound guy,
Yeah.
So, but that's how it, inevitably started, and from watching UFC, one of my friends, Dan, he was like really big into it. He got me into it. You know what I mean? He's the one that actually got me into all the lifting, all the MMA, everything. So he just, it just transferred over. But he's not even doing it now, which
Yeah.
is kind of crazy,
So who do you train with? Now?
So I opened my own gym now in Holyoke. It's called Underground MMA Fight Club, and
No kidding.
yeah.
So you're a business owner as well.
Yeah, it's more of like a private gym. Like we have
Yeah.
our team. We do, we just started this program it's called Beginner MMA. It's a beginner MMA program where we bring in like fresh guys, and it's like a 3-month long program. Where we start them from square one and bring them up to be able to train with the
here,
advanced.
just bring this in.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, to be able to train with the advanced guys. So it is a private gym, but that's the only like open thing we have is the beginner MMA program. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the wrestling club, but.
And because at this point, most of the people you're working with are just getting their bearings within like fighting and
Yes and no. Oh well, we started in my basement with my team and for 2 years, and then we started to grow too big, so we just it ended up opening this spot in Holyoke.
no shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's a pretty long story, but it just goes. There's it has its ebbs and flows or whatever you want to call it, but it was pretty crazy because the way we operate is we would do like the Tuesday, Thursday MMA training in my basement, and then Monday and Wednesday and Friday we'd either be at Whitley's Boxing or Springfield Submission Society. I don't know if you guys ever heard of those places.
Yeah, I know. Springfield
Yeah,
Submission
Jameson
Society,
probably.
Yeah. So those were our places. So we would, like I said, the boxing was the Whitleys, and this is the crazy part. So when I opened the gym, we're looking for little locations. I was only looking just to expand upon the basement just for the guys we already had. We had like a team of amateur fighters, just a few guys, and we're like, let's go to this spot, let's go to that spot. We're looking for small space, and we ended up in a bigger spot in Holyoke, right below Whitley's Boxing, where we already were going for the boxing. So
That's
it was
so convenient.
So convenient. Yeah. So now above us is the boxing guys, and right below is the MMA and the wrestling. And then we still do go to Springfield Submission Society. So the way our team works is kind of odd compared to most MMA gyms where they just have their jiu-jitsu, their wrestling, their boxing, their kickboxing, their Muay Thai all in one gym.
Right.
I like to do it where in my gym we only focus on MMA and wrestling, and then like the off days is wrestling. So if you want to do like Monday, you want to go to boxing, you go to boxing.
Anything specifically you mean by MMA? I know that's sort of like a
when we do the MMA,
there's a lot of grappling type. Or
it's interesting that you ask that because I make these drills. I don't think I've ever seen them anywhere. I have these drills where it's a mix of everything. So like I have a bunch of different drills, but like for example, we'll do like one where like you're just like you might be like countering whatever shots he's throwing. We'll start out with like one guy's throwing it's combos at you. You're just like parrying them, and then all of a sudden you're shooting in on him like every other like combo, just to make him sprawl. And then after you shoot on him like 3 times, he spins around, takes your back, and then you're gonna go live for the submission. Like you'll say, you'll do it like 3 times, sprawl, and then on the 3rd sprawl, he takes your back.
And what do you mean by sprawl?
Sprawl is like a wrestling defense shot.
Gotcha.
So like he goes for the takedown, you sprawl, and then you get back up. You keep working on the combos.
Up
sprawl
top?
it. Yeah, up top.
And then
sprawl. It's confusing,
Yeah. Well, just for like people listening, I'm also a dummy when it comes to. I'm probably sure
basically
you know the terminology.
Is sort of like when you like press your chest down on them and push your legs out.
Yeah.
So they can't like wrap your legs up with their arms.
But that's interesting. So you're practicing what you're trying to say, or what you're saying rather, is that it's a matter of gaining control of the opponent from standing to ground.
Yeah, for one drill we have. But what you like to answer your question, what we're doing in MMA, it's basically I call it like active MMA drills, and you're actively just working your technique. But at the same time, you're also getting like a live portion in there.
Yeah, like you're practicing the strategy.
Strategy, yes. That's a good way to put it. Strategy, and I made a bunch of those drills. I feel like I've never seen them anywhere. Honestly, every MMA gym I've ever been to, this is what they do. They just hit pads like kickbox, or they just roll and do jujitsu, or they might have a wrestling day. But I've never seen anybody really put it together, and the way
so you kind of find a way to combine both like striking and like jujitsu.
Yeah, yep, striking and grappling.
Grappling, I should say,
that's the best way to like put those two.
Do you guys have any type of belt system, or or practice any type of jujitsu, or rather grappling specifically? I mean, I don't know if there's like a
So what we do with this, we actually have a team ranking that we do, and it's ranked from 1 through 8, and it's based off of obviously like number 1 is who shows up, number 2 your skill level, and number 3 like your team atmosphere, how you are with the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's an important quality.
Yeah, it's really good because it brings the guys in. It motivates the guys to really start coming to training. And pushing them to develop themselves.
And this community, does this become sort of what you might consider the camp for that person or the team that would be there with them when they're competing?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, have you gone to help anybody else out behind the octagon or the ring? You know what I mean?
Oh, like what do you mean?
Like for instance, have you? I know you've been in the ring.
Oh yeah.
But like, have you brought other people to the ring too?
Oh yeah. That's a good question because this little team that I did, it started out just for me. You know what I mean? In my basement, and eventually it grew where we had other fighters.
Wow.
So yes. We don't have as many as I would like right now.
Yeah.
But we're definitely, building more and more and more. And it comes with that ranking system that I was talking about. And if you want to join the team, let's say you're an amateur fighter from whatever team, you actually have to fight one of those guys on the ranking,
Gotcha.
So like whoever's in your weight from 8 to 7 down, you have to fight with him to get on the team.
So in other words, you guys have somewhat of like a vetting process within your own community.
Definitely.
That's
And,
awesome.
it works for even some of the guys that are still there who want to become fighters. Like that 1 through 8, if you want to fight in a local show or even below a local show, like a JV thing, like a smoker,
Yeah.
you have to be on that roster.
So you're probably somewhat familiar of that steeple then. Like, where were you competing essentially?
Oh, I was
'Cause-
just competing at like grappling tournaments, like Grappling Industries, Good Fight. I haven't done a Naga yet, but I probably will at some point.
Yeah. And are you
But-
familiar kind of with that as
Oh,
well?
yeah,
like
definitely.
that's kind of like a good like place to start, because I know you're mostly just doing jujitsu
Yeah.
right now. But how does that differ? Like, how do you find yourself getting? How did you even get to Bellator? Like what's the step by step to get to a place like that where they're allowing you to fight? And is like
Yeah.
UFC something you see in the
Oh, of
future
course.
as well?
Well, it starts out like a lot of the guys, they do start in more of the grappling tournaments or from wrestling. They'll start in something like that to get their foot in the water, or or foot through the door, water. I don't know.
Yeah,
Foot
yeah.
through the door.
In the water.
Yeah, in
Both
the water.
works,
You know,
both
The
of them
door in the
work.
water.
Yeah.
same thing, right?
Sometimes.
And what it does is when you do all those little competitions, it gets you used to knowing what your body's like and all that stuff. But that's just the start for some of the MMA guys, and a lot of the MMA guys are still doing those competitions. But for MMA particularly, I started out. You start with an amateur career, okay? So you start with your amateur career. You do. I think you have to have at least 3 fights to go pro, and it's kind of weird how going from
Three
amateur
fights where?
Oh, in amateur fights.
Oh, just amateur fights
so
in general.
it's very open. There's not like really like, okay, you go to this thing and you do that. and
Right,
you do
right.
that. It's very right now
It's
MMA.
whatever it is. It's
Yeah.
like as long as you've seen some experience,
Exactly.
and some
Yeah,
time in
It's
the
like
ring.
if you got skill and somebody like who runs the events vouches for you,
Yeah.
Sort of.
That too, yeah, exactly. Like I know some guys who actually didn't have any amateur experience, but they had so much experience in the grappling,
Yeah.
they went straight to pro
Mm.
in MMA. So it's not like like you have to win like 5 fights in a row and you're pro. It's
Yeah,
more
yeah.
like, hey, just get some experience, and if your coach or whatever, if the Massachusetts what is it, regulating body, says you're ready to go pro, they'll give you your pro license, which
No
is
shit. So
so
what
it's-
does that mean? Like they give you a pro license, now what? Now you're eligible to submit into UFC or Bellator, or like
technically yes, but most of the time you're gonna be working on the smaller circuits, like the local circuits, like Premier Fighting, Ammo League, these are all local events, and you fight your way on those. Once you get recognized from that, maybe Bellator will give you a call. But for me, I started in Premier Fighting,
Yeah.
which is a local show. I think they're out of Springfield. And I started there. I did 1 fight in there, and she was affiliated with Bellator. So I had 1 fight as a pro, 1-0, and I immediately went to Bellator right after that. So
wow.
What was your first fight like? Like how was
Yeah.
it like your emotions leading up to it?
So
the
that's a good
anticipation?
question.
yeah, that's actually a really good question, because my first pro fight was gonna be.
Here, just bring this in.
Oh
now.
yeah, sorry man.
You can pull this. It's a little stiff, but
Like that. That's good.
you're talking to the side though.
Oh, in the side.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So my first pro fight. I live like in Westfield, where it's like in the middle of like nowhere, kind of like in the woods. And my first fight, they opened this like brand new like sports complex. It was gonna be there, which is crazy. And for the weigh-ins, I literally walked from the back from my backyard to the place. Like that's how close I lived to my
Holy
first fight.
shit.
And all my other fights, I went to like Boston, New York, and all that other stuff. So it was kind of cool. Just like in my backyard was my first pro fight. And I ended up winning, but it was kind of not the way I wanted to win, because I punched him like right around the eye.
Yeah.
And
Was it by knockout?
no, well, it's they call it TKO, but I punched him here in the eye, and it was just like
Bled
where
out a little.
he had like a cut here when they couldn't allow it to go.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah.
by the second round came, they're like, it's over. So
Oh,
I
that
won,
sucks.
But going back to my amateur, like my first like real like MMA fight, it was pretty cool. I
Were
was
you more nervous then than you were when you went to Bellator for the first time?
I wouldn't say so. I was ready.
Yeah.
I was ready. Obviously there's like nerves going into like getting ready, but when that night came, I was ready to go. But I'll tell you what, after that fight, I was never so tired in my life.
Really?
Oh yeah, like I put
Did you
it
take some shots?
here and there, but I was just putting like a lot of shots on him, and it was a good fight back and forth
Mm.
because on the weigh-in day, he's like, "We're gonna have a war tomorrow," and I'm like, "All right, man, let's go."
Yeah.
So I'm expecting him to, come out and when people say a war, they're expecting like to bang with some
Yeah.
shots.
Yeah.
So I'm like, "All right, here we go." He's gonna bring it, right? So I go. The first punch I threw or kick, he tried to go for a takedown. I'm like, "Oh my god!" So I'm like,
Yeah.
fighting out the takedown.
Oh, dude, wrestling is so tiring.
Yeah, and the first round was all him just trying to take me down.
Yeah.
So I got me so tired. And I was trying so hard not to get taken down. And I'm up against the fence. And eventually I win the fight by TKO. And after that, though, I took seriously to conditioning and getting all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff.
You weren't gonna let that slip again. How many fights have you done in Bellator?
Bellator, I had 2 fights in Bellator.
Okay.
I was actually scheduled in April next month to fight again in Bellator.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but the guy, have you guys ever heard of Zabit in the
No.
UFC?
Is it B?
Yeah.
That's a
Oh,
good question.
is
We do
that-
watch a lot
I
of.
don't know. I
He-
don't think so.
Well, his brother was supposed to fight me in Bellator,
It
but
sounds really familiar. and
Yeah,
I bet you. Yeah.
he's one of the more newer famous guys that's coming up. But
Yep.
his brother was scheduled to fight me, and they couldn't get a visa, so
Oh, where's he
man.
from?
Russia or something.
Okay.
And the crazy part is I was scheduled to fight him maybe 6 months ago from a different organization, and they couldn't figure out some stuff.
So, what
Yeah.
weight do you fight at? Like 170, probably.
No, I fight at
Mhm.
lightweight,
Lightweight.
and I don't cut much weight.
Really?
I walk around 160, sometimes 165.
Ah.
I don't like cutting weight.
Yeah.
I don't like cutting weight. I found that out
Yeah.
in my later on in my career because my whole amateur career, I was with one gym that I was with in Springfield, and the coach over there was so strict about cutting weight. Like he said, you have to cut weight.
Right.
He wanted me to fight at like 125.
Oh shit.
Which is like,
Yo,
I'm like,
I heard some horror stories about cutting weight, man. I ain't doing that shit.
Well,
Listen,
even
I-
going up, either direction can be pretty painful. I mean,
Yeah.
look what
Yeah.
happened just to Adesanya going up.
oh yeah,
Whatever.
Oh, yeah. Cutting weight, man, it sucks, man. It's like some people can do it and have like a science about it.
Yeah.
and they're good. Me, I've done all my research. I don't think some people's bodies they're not made for that. You know what I mean? Just everybody's different.
Yeah.
And I've had like my coach, like I told you, my old coach was so adamant on it, and I listened to him. So I would come into the weigh-in sometimes like being overweight. And I weighed in. They're like, "Oh, you're like 2 pounds over." And I remember this one time, it was actually in the Chicopee Hukilao where I was weighing in, and I was overweight, and I didn't bring any of my sauna stuff or anything. And they're like, "Yo, you got to lose the pounds." I'm like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
So I'm going upstairs. There's like this upstairs. I'm like doing these sprints. I'm already like dehydrated, and I'm so like tired, so gassed out. I felt like I was in a desert trying to lose this weight. You know what they ended up doing? They put our heavyweight on the team. He just laid on me like a sauna. He just literally laid on me. I
shit.
sweir to God.
Yo.
I swear to God, And
And you just sweated it out.
I just sweated it out, and it sucked. But that's you have to make the weight. And after I started turning pro and going, as soon as I went pro, I went more on my own. Like I was my own coach,
Yeah.
And I listened to myself, and that's what
Right.
you gotta do, Sometimes, if you're smart enough, if you're capable, if you're willing, and you have the drive, you could do it on your
Right.
own somewhat,
Somewhat before. Well, at what point do you think you'll need like a corner?
Right. Well, eventually, like I had a corner and everything, and it was weird, going into my first pro fight, my corner, I never had like corner me before,
Yeah.
in my first pro fight, so it was like kind of strange.
Well,
That
it's
is
probably
wild
new
if
to
they don't
everybody.
know your game,
Yeah,
It is probably though new to everybody because especially if it's the first time. What I'm trying to say is the first time them being a corner for you
yeah,
is they're probably when you're watching these really pro fights, main cards in the UFC. How long have these corners been working with these fighters? You know what I mean?
yeah.
So there's probably a lot of synergy going on between them, and then obviously the camp was probably facilitated also by the people in the corner. and
Oh yeah,
everything.
right. And they're still my same corner today.
Yeah.
But my first pro fight, I started my team and everything, and it was kind of weird. I just like had 3 guys that never been in my corner.
Oh, okay.
And I was working with them obviously for like the leading up to the fight, but it was just kind of different, And I really like, it was a different feel, and I like having them in my corner, And it's kind of cool now with my team. We have so many coaches Like we have a wrestling coach, we
Right.
have more of a striking coach, MMA coach, straight jiu-jitsu coach, and now what I'm doing is every fight I have, every new fight I have, like they're like, you're gonna fight this guy. Whatever I see, like if this guy's more of a striker, if this guy's more of a wrestler, I'll pick the coaches that I think will be good for that fight.
Right.
So I have a choice now. So it's like, all right, I'm gonna choose this one because this guy's a striker. I'm gonna choose the boxing coach and this coach, and they're gonna come with me to this fight. You have like up to 3 coaches you could
Yeah.
usually bring to a fight. So that's what I've been doing now, just to level it out. You know what I mean?
Is it televised? I've never seen a Bellator fight. Like, what's the big difference between Bellator and UFC? Because I've been watching
Yeah.
UFC for I don't know how many years. I don't know if I've ever caught a Bellator, but I've always heard about Bellator, like constantly.
Bellator is cool, I heard it's like the number 2 organization in the world.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is. But it's very much similar to UFC. The difference I would say is
Just the reffing styles, maybe like there's different like rules.
no, the rules, everything. It's the same. All that stuff is the same as UFC, but
Yeah.
it's just another organization trying to be as big as the UFC.
Oh, okay. So it is a competitive organization.
It's definitely competitive. I mean, the crazy part is UFC kind of like bought out.
like competing, I should say, competing organization.
Yeah.
Meaning it's one of like what's the one in China that's really like where'd Mighty Mouse go?
Oh, you went to ONE FC?
One FC.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And
yeah.
there's a lot of companies
Or
springing out.
Japan, is it? Do you know about anything
I'm
about
not
it?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies springing out now, but UFC ate a lot of them to like kill
Yeah.
the competition. They bought this one, that one.
Yeah, well,
this one.
ESPN stepped in. What was it last year? When
Yeah.
did they buy UFC? Was it
was
last
like
year?
shortly before
The pandemic.
that McGregor-Cerrone fight.
Mm,
Shortly before that one.
yeah.
Have you guys ever heard of Professional Fighters League?
No.
No.
Okay, so this one's cool, and I want to get into this one as my record climbs up.
Yeah.
But this company, they have fights where it's like a tournament format. So like they'll start out as in the open season, and they'll have a bunch of guys, and you get a ranking based on your wins.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird how it works, but basically you get ranked, and then during the season you fight one guy, and then you continue, and it's like a playoff. And
What's the time spacing between the fights?
that's a good question because I just started getting into it. I'm not
Mm.
sure. I believe it's like a month and a half. I believe.
That's not bad for recovery.
But the crazy part is the pre-championship fight. You have 2 fights in one night,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
which is crazy. You have the first fight is 2 rounds, and then the second fight of the night is 3 rounds.
It's all pay per view, also, kind of.
I don't think.
How do
it's
you
pay-
watch it?
It's on ESPN now. The new season of this year is starting next month in April 23rd.
Okay.
Something like that.
I know a lot of different fight leagues. I don't know if I should call them leagues, but they stream them on the internet.
Yeah.
And
A
then
lot.
it's like you sort of just pay to watch the stream.
And they all count towards the record inevitably.
Oh
And
yeah.
what's your game plan? Are you trying to at some point get on the UFC, or
Yeah, I mean,
what do they need for you to be before you can become, at least starting in the prelims and going on your way up?
That's another good question because it's like, just like I was talking about, like going from amateur to pro, it's also one of those scenarios where it's just up in the air. You know what I mean? You kind of, if you got the record for one, if you got the status for two, and what I mean by status is like the notoriety, the hype behind you,
Right.
and the Instagram followers,
Right.
they care about that stuff, So if you have that, and obviously if you're a good fighter, they're gonna take you in.
Well, we had a good conversation about that and like how important it is to have a certain level of hype, have a certain level of banter
Yeah.
between your fights. As much as people are like, "Oh, that guy's a total dick." Let's be honest. McGregor made a huge scene, and it kind of really put UFC on the map for a lot of people like myself who were never in it.
Yeah.
Into it before that.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
he got me into UFC, to be
That's
honest.
crazy.
That was the first time I started watching it. I'm like, this guy's an asshole, and then I love this fucking guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just because he put on a show.
Yep.
And so I know what you mean by that.
Yeah.
Because that's gotta be a huge role. What is your strategy with that? Like, have you sort of found any sense of the bearings between the relationship with who you have to be before a fight?
That's a good question too, because I'm obviously aiming for that, and I've never liked to be like,
A jerk or something?
I'm not the type to, to like, I'm not the type to fake it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to go on Instagram and make a million videos and pictures, and you know that's probably the way to do it. You know, and get myself hyped like that. I just want to do it the old-fashioned way. I want to go in there,
just let your
be good.
skill speak for itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd rather do it the old-fashioned way too. It'd feel
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, you're gonna feel more realistic, you know, and
Yeah.
you're gonna feel real about yourself and going into the thing, and obviously, you're gonna go into the fight knowing you could fight.
Right. Well, when you're talking all that shit, like if you're somebody who's talking a lot of shit prior, you're really building up your ego, and then if you lose, that loss is that much more painful
Yeah.
because you
Oh,
just were
it's so
saying
much
all
funnier.
talking
It's
all
so
that
much
smack,
funnier.
and then you
Yeah.
get destroyed. It's like, dude, at least if you didn't say anything, you win in peacefully. And win or lose,
Yeah.
not a lot was lost,
Yeah,
even if
yeah.
you lose. You know what I mean?
And another thing that you guys might not know about is like padded records. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So padded record is
You
like
talk about Floyd Mayweather.
very similar to that. But I've noticed a lot of the guys in New England and MMA fighters in New England, they love to pad their records. They love,
meaning
yeah, like they'll go out there and they'll fight a guy who has like a seriously losing record, like maybe like 5 and like 10. You know, he won 5
Oh.
times, lost 10 times. A lot of the guys are padding their records to make themselves look good. And I've seen UFC take padded fighters, which is crazy.
Yeah.
They only care if you look good, like 11-0. If they see 11-0, they're gonna be like, oh, you know, he's gonna look good on TV.
Well, it is show business.
It's show business.
It really
exactly.
is. It really is. Because now undefeated, and it's just some
There you
guy
go.
out
Yeah.
of nowhere,
There you go.
and then he
It's
gets
always the
slaughtered, and you're
undefeated.
like,
Yeah.
oh my god, he's
Yeah.
never been beaten.
Exactly.
And then he went up against somebody who was finally good
And that's
for once.
that's exactly what you're saying, and that's why I like the Professionalist Fighter League, because it's all about how good are you, you know.
Yeah.
And but you know I've strayed away from doing padding my record. I've fought in the tougher guys.
Yeah, you're
you know?
keeping it honest. And not only
Yeah.
that, but look at the justice that it does for you. It's better to do. That's a strategy.
Exactly.
Because, hey, you fight 10, 20 people that suck, you suck too.
Exactly. So
You're not any good. You're not
Right.
any better because you're facing
Yeah.
people like you can beat up 1,000 5-year-olds, but that doesn't make you a strong fighter. You know what I
Right.
mean?
In the eyes of the people, you look cool because they'll think you know he's 20-0, but
Yeah.
you really look deep down into his record, and he fought nobody's. You
Oh,
know?
well, that's kind of what
You
happened
know?
with Jake Paul. He
Right,
beat up
right.
Dude, it's about time we
Robinson.
brought this guy up.
Yeah, what was it?
Wait.
Josh Robinson? What was his name?
Nate Robinson.
Nate Robinson, yeah, the basketball player. It's like, dude, you beat
Oh,
a
yeah.
basketball player
Exactly.
boxing.
Exactly.
And you see Nate Robinson, like you can tell, like his footwork. There's like no
Everything.
footwork there. He's like sprinting.
His
at the
hands
guy,
were
you know?
down, all that
Yeah.
shit.
And let me ask you, how many people are gonna look into that and be like, "Who is this guy?" No, they're
Right.
gonna see one guy on TV knocking out another guy.
Yeah, like, wow, look how good he knocked him out. What a prize
Yeah.
fighter. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
like, and then and like you're saying, the hype behind it, because we're talking about it. I don't follow Jake Paul. I
Dude,
don't think
it's
any
so
of us
bad.
probably follow Jake Paul,
look,
but
we're
we've
talking-
heard about it.
Right.
So bad.
And now we're talking about it. Right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. It's what it is. But another way to get in the UFC too would be through the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard of the Ultimate
That's
Fighter.
the
I definitely have,
the
yeah.
show, right? Where
The-
they get like a UFC guy to be a coach.
Yep. They get the UFC guys to be
Yeah.
a coach, and then they get, I think, 8 guys on one team and 8 guys on their team.
I
They're
know that's
all-
how Tony Ferguson came up.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yep. A lot of UFC guys came up through this way. It's
basically
basically
Gaethje did too. I think. Yeah.
I think he was
Maybe.
a coach. He
Yeah?
was a coach, yeah.
Mm.
But they just basically, what do? They bring up and comer fighters, and the winner gets a definite UFC contract.
Oh,
you
no
know?
shit.
Yeah, and you fight each other like every week.
Right, right.
You know, one guy's fighting one guy's fighting the next week. It's crazy. It's crazy. I would love to be on that show.
Yeah, I was gonna say, bro. Well, I'm just sitting here kind of like, whoa, because there's a realistic chance that I'm gonna be watching you fight one of these days.
Oh hell yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Consider I've looked through your Instagram. Check that out below if you guys want. And you know you're dedicated to what you're doing, and on top of it, you already have like a pretty solid and ambitious foundation. Considering you are running a gym, you got
Yeah.
a team.
Yep.
You're helping other people get in the ring.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no better way. I was explaining this because I have interns at my work, and one of the cool experiences about having people learn from you is that when you get the opportunity to teach, it's when you probably learn the most about yourself.
Oh, definitely.
Because you really learn about how much you know,
Yeah.
and how much more you need to know usually because you're seeing it all on the table for the first time. So
Right,
having
right.
not only the being in the realm of learning new things, but also teaching things and learning what you need to learn to teach things
Yeah.
better.
Well, I definitely find like at least
You're
teaching
probably- yeah.
teaching jujitsu, you definitely like have to really think about the body mechanics.
How long
behind
have you
what
been
you're showing.
teaching jujitsu now?
Since November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what belt are you?
Blue belt.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, that's good. So
Yeah.
are you teaching more the beginner guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I do Friday nights.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
yeah,
That's cool.
it's cool though. I think it's helped my game a lot. It's really helped me like
Definitely.
think about how certain things work.
What's really cool is like I was talking, and we have the beginner MMA program,
Right.
and we're actually in our second season now.
Oh, here, pull this.
Oh, yep. Sorry,
That's all
we're
right.
in the second season right now, and what was crazy is our first season was like we just started up the program. We never like had a blueprint or anything, and we were teaching the guys, and they were learning. But now the second season, what's so crazy is I couldn't believe how fast they were picking up the moves, and I was like, "Are these guys just that good?" And then when I was talking to one of the coaches, he's like, "No, you're just getting better at coaching.
Yeah.
You're getting better at teaching,
Yeah.
And it was crazy to think that, and I was like, wow, pretty cool,
It kind of hits you like that. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
better you are, or more experienced you are at
Yep.
something, the easier the people around you start to learn how to do that.
Right.
Even if you're not teaching them, sometimes if
Yeah.
you're even just under observation. I
Yeah.
mean, look at the effect of. I know this is kind of different, obviously a lot different than UFC or MMA or anything. But like what happened with Michael Jordan when he made that 3-point slam dunk. Or whatever, he jumped from the free throw
slam dunk contest.
Yeah, like what I'm saying is that once people see it happen, a lot more people start to do it and learn by doing it. I mean,
Yeah,
look at that strategy that's been implemented more and more against strikers and taking down that leg in front.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've seen Gaethje do it.
Oh,
You've
yeah.
seen
Calf kick.
what the hell?
Man.
McGregor's last fight. I mean, it was
Oh,
implemented
yeah.
really well.
Oh my god.
And we couldn't believe it because McGregor lost again.
Yeah.
Yo, Poirier is definitely
Poirier.
real good
Yeah,
though.
He's so good. I mean,
Definitely.
he implemented that. Well, they both kind of walked out of there with a limp, though.
No, but he implemented it good because by the time when McGregor got knocked out, he was literally on his back leg.
Yeah.
He was he was standing up on his back leg to like he knew
And once you do that to
Yeah.
McGregor, everybody knew that, and then it's over.
yeah.
You
Yep.
can't throw that heavy left
No.
anymore. So
Yeah.
that's got to be a huge thing for you to be able to see that the whole team's getting better, and then that
Oh, yeah.
has to make you better because those are the people you're fighting
Definitely.
with or training with rather.
Well, yeah, the way it works is the training group we have, it's like a 3-month program, and these guys are just like the beginners, and once they complete the program, if they pass the test, they get to go to train with me,
Yeah.
So it's like we train them for like an hour, 2 times a week, and it's like, we're just teaching them the basics and we're slowly building them up, and the test at the end of the 3 months is like they have to pass the curriculum, like they have to know all the moves that we give them, and then they have to pass the conditioning test, which is like a circuit. There's like two rounds of that, and then the last part is they have to spar one another 100% with the full face headgear. And so they have to
Yeah.
pass all that. So like last season, we had one guy just quit during the conditioning, and I'm like, no, I can't pass you, and he was so mad. I'm like, if you quit, that means you quit in the fight, so I look at it as round 1, round 2, round 3, like kind of like a fight,
Yeah.
as a test, and then once they pass this test, they're able to train with the advanced guys. They're considered
Gotcha.
they're still considered intermediate, but they train with like me and all of our fighters and stuff, you know what I mean? So it's a really good segue. I haven't seen any gyms.
So in other words,
yeah.
you make a mock fight with the same amount of time in between
Oh, yeah.
rounds or whatever, or same amount of round
Basically, yeah. And there's only one round of like actual fighting.
Yeah.
But they're going 100%. And
no shit.
Yeah, with the
with the pads and everything.
with
but
the pads.
still,
Yeah.
What do you think about Max Holloway's last fight?
I actually didn't see it.
No?
I
Oh,
heard about
man.
it. I heard about it, but he
I
got
didn't
a
see it
lot of
either.
strikes in.
Yeah,
He got a
yeah.
lot of strikes in. Yeah.
Apparently, like his camp leading up, he didn't do any sparring.
I don't believe that.
That's what he said.
Uh,
That's what he said.
I think he's just trying to mess up the competitors and tell them to do the wrong thing. That's what
yeah,
I'm
you
thinking.
think so? You think he's playing mind games?
I think he's playing mind games because you gotta spar, man. You gotta spar. It's like
well, half of it is mental. I
It
really do
is,
think
it
if you're able to set. I mean, I really do believe that that's how some people really come up in a big way. Is they get in their opponent's head
definitely
first,
Oh, my
defeat
God.
them mentally, and then all you have to do is defeat them physically.
Well, what
And
do you
if-
think?
if-
McGregor, right?
Right, that's another great example. Is he took half that person out before they even started fighting.
Right.
Oh, bro, the Aldo fight.
Yeah.
Aldo,
Just
have we
talking-
seen?
talking
Have we even
smack to him
seen
for
Aldo?
months and
I haven't
months.
seen Aldo in so long.
Yeah,
fight.
no, he fought not too long ago, right? I think so.
But I also only
He's still
catch, like-
fighting.
I only
Yeah.
catch every
Yeah, he's
couple
still fighting.
fights, anyways.
But they were saying that McGregor didn't win this fight because he didn't get into the
Poirier's
guy's
head.
head.
Yeah.
And I thought the same thing. He didn't. He was.
I
all
didn't think
cool,
so
you
either.
know?
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was definitely more respectable than I've ever seen McGregor, but at the same time, he didn't put any of his. I mean, that was part of his fight, was defeating them mentally,
Yeah,
and he hadn't really done that.
Same with Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. You just gotta like, if you say it, they start to
Adesanya's a
believe
lot
it.
like that too, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of. I think there was a lot of banter prior to his fight with Costa,
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
then he just destroyed Costa.
Destroyed him. Yeah.
Wait, who's the guy who was drinking wine the night before?
That's
his
the
fight?
same one.
Yeah, that's a guy.
same one,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, dude.
Oh, Costa?
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably was Brazilian guy.
He's
probably wasted. He's a good-looking guy.
He said he lost a fight because he was drinking wine the night before.
Yeah, that's a
Like
great.
that.
That's
He
a
didn't- he
great
didn't lose.
excuse.
That's what he was saying. Yeah, that fight, he was saying he couldn't sleep, so he just drank a whole bottle of wine.
Jeez.
And apparently that's why his performance was so bad. And he had a bad performance, honestly.
Well, duh.
Yeah,
Like, like, what were you thinking,
Right,
bro? Were
right,
you
right.
thinking, wow, this is gonna keep me sharp? Like, no, dude, you're gonna be hungover.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't remember if that fight was in Abu Dhabi or if it was in Vegas.
I think it was.
If it was in Abu Dhabi, I get the not sleeping part.
No, it wasn't.
man.
Yeah,
That
that's
sucked.
what it was. That's what it was. It was in Abu Dhabi because they had to like apparently wake up at like 5 a.m. and then
Yeah.
they're fighting at like 8 a.m. And
Oh,
that's kind of weird.
Adesanya versus Costa. Yeah.
Yeah.
that was during the pandemic too. So probably
Yeah.
it had to have been
Like
on
not
Fight
being
Island.
able to
Yeah.
sleep like in like a different time zone, like that's
Oh,
sucks.
like
Yeah.
a really seriously different time zone. I mean,
Yeah.
shit, you're.
Yeah,
I don't know.
definitely.
Where's Adesanya fighting out of? New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they're both on different sides of the planet almost.
Mm.
And that's the thing with that pandemic. It's made this whole thing
Yeah.
so hard,
To really organize and get fights going.
Yeah.
That's a real pain in the ass.
How was
Pain.
how was your training like throughout the pandemic, like early on?
Well, like I said, we were in. Well, this is actually funny you brought that up because when we were in my basement, nobody in my family wanted to have anybody training in the house, so we ended up making a backyard ring
Oh, that's
Right.
awesome.
out of like pallets, and we got some matting and stuff, and we made it in the backyard. And
Nice.
like that's the start of it, where we just had so many guys coming. We're like, man, we got to open our own place or do something, and
Well, that must have been a strange dynamic to navigate, is who's okay with still doing this, because there's
yeah,
obviously everybody has people in their social circle where it's like, hey, sorry, I'm out of here.
Yep.
Like,
And what was cool too is like the boxing gym I go to, Whitley's Boxing, they were open during the whole pandemic.
yeah,
So I was able to train, I was able to lift still because they have weights there.
yeah.
And I actually implemented my own routine, that I would never thought would work. I never thought push-ups would like be able to like build myself up, I made this whole routine and like this whole thing, and it
So you
actually
keep a
worked.
pretty healthy balance between weightlifting and just like fundamental
yeah.
calisthenics, essentially,
Yeah.
and of course the leg work, footwork for
Oh yeah.
MMA and all that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a mix of everything. You got to have the technique. You got to have the conditioning.
Yeah.
You got to have the strength. You got to have the cardio, all that stuff. It's so important, and try to keep a balance of that.
That's
know
pretty
what
badass.
I mean?
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Though. Like, I'm just thinking, put my head in that space. Like, wow,
Yeah.
imagine just having on all levels, and then there's diet, which is a whole nother realm.
Yeah,
in
which
and of
I suck
itself.
at.
Yeah. What is your strategy with that? I mean, have you ever really dug deep into implementing any strategies for it?
I have, yes. And I stuck to like a basic, routine where it was just like your carbohydrates, your protein, fats like chicken and rice and all that stuff. But I used to meal prep and stuff, but it just gets like, it's such a task, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But right now, I'll be honest, my diet's not the best,
Right. Well, what do you think you could change to make
What-
it better?
Probably less like frozen food, right? I
Processed usually.
I do a lot
Well,
of frozen. Yeah,
What do you mean by frozen? Like frozen veggies, or you're talking like pizzas and?
I do eat a lot of pizza, but no, the frozen, like I do a lot of like frozen rice and stuff, and
Supposedly, the frozen produce
Yeah.
is better for
I
you
heard that.
than
Yep.
what you might consider fresh,
Right, 'cause
Because
it locks it in.
it's frozen right off the get. Typically, when you grab like say a husk of bananas or whatever, a thing of bananas, they had been already frozen, because obviously bananas don't grow anywhere near Massachusetts, like even close.
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean? So when they're harvested, they're frozen, and then there's a thawing process for most fruit that you get once it's quote unquote fresh. versus the frozen food that you get had been frozen immediately and is still frozen by the time you get it. So it hadn't had any thawing or aging process in between.
What's your source for this?
I, I don't have a name, but I've just
I'm
heard
just,
it.
I'm just
I've heard it
curious.
through several.
Because I've always sort of been like a frozen vegetable snob, like up until recently when I've just like been trying to economize my time. I've been going with the frozen vegetables.
Various anybody who might, and I don't want to say claims, anybody who's in the nutrition field that I've ever learned from has made that claim. And it's because, again, you don't get a banana that, like, the bananas you get weren't just sitting on a shelf until they got to the store. They were frozen immediately after being
Bro, there's my
harvested.
incentive to be lazy.
I mean, it kind of is.
Well, actually, I used to previously work at CNS. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's a warehouse, and I was in Hatfield. Yeah. And they had the bananas, and what happens is they bring in the bananas like green, and they put it in this like machine thing, and it like they have to like put in like some kind of like gases to it to make it like harvest or whatever.
Really? To make it ripe?
Yeah, to make it ripe. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Are they cold when you get them, or like?
I think I don't know. I don't know, but I know they have to like, like put the gases and stuff, and then they ship them out and all that stuff. So
it's all really minute, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, staying away from processed foods is probably a huge difference.
Definitely.
For everybody. I mean, I've noticed that myself. Everybody is a little bit different. I mean, I don't know how some people do it. Some people do get away with eating like crap pretty frequently, but it all depends on your genetics and how active you are.
Yeah. And I'm extremely active, so I get away with a lot of it. But let's say I was to put in the time to like eat the right stuff, I would probably be even like more fit or whatever.
I heard Masvidal eats McDonald's and fast food.
Well, yeah, and I mean, look at John Jones. I know we were just making fun of Costa, but John Jones' method, our supposed method, was getting completely wasted the night before, and he's like, "Oh, I fight way better."
Wow. Well,
you ever hear that when he was on Joe Rogan's podcast talking about that? He was I really don't care.
The reason for that is because he wants to have nothing to lose.
Yeah,
because he'll be like, "Oh, well, if I lost,
that's it." Yeah. So did you hear that one? Did you hear?
I've heard of it.
That's exactly what he said, dude. I'm not even joking. He said because if he loses, then it's not a big deal because it's like obviously because I was wasted the night before.
It's all about that pressure.
So he takes all the pressure off. It's like
there's no. That just sounds like it would suck.
Isn't that what a funny freaking
it's weird.
philosophy though?
But the thing is, like, you train so hard for those 3 months.
Yeah.
And everybody's counting on you.
I know.
All your friends are like, kick his ass. You're getting text messages, guys. You better kick this guy's ass. I had people be like, yo, if you don't win, don't even bother calling me or some bullshit.
What?
Yeah.
What kind of people are like
I don't know,
bro. Those are bad friends.
Right. Yeah, you listen to that one over there.
Yeah.
But that's the pressure. So he probably did that, and then he's like, well, I'm going in the fight now, whatever. And obviously he's a freaking beast. So, So he takes all the pressure.
I've never seen a John Jones fight.
No,
I've missed because I only catch it with friends who are like, for instance, you or Deo or watch by the game or the fight, I should say. But yeah, for some reason I've missed a ton of them. Nunez's last fight was amazing. Though.
Oh yeah,
she's literally a beast.
Of her own.
She really is. She's like got that.
Respect,
I hate to say Ronda Rousey status because Ronda Rousey got destroyed and by her. That was the last time I actually saw Ronda Rousey fight is when Nunez just mopped the floor with her. Like, it was a sad day for Ron. I don't even know what she's doing these days.
No, I respect Amanda Nunes because, like, I love how humble she is,
Yo.
She's a killer, but
seriously,
she's mad humble, It's just, like, good for you, like, I respect that highly, you know what I mean? Because you see so many people with that level, and they're just, like, bigger. They try to make themselves bigger than life, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, there's definitely some guys who like try to portray like this persona in fighting that just really drives me nuts. I'm just like, oh my god, bro.
But it sucks because like when you do that, then you have more to lose because then as soon as you lose and you're only getting started, you sort of fade
especially
away.
if you're only getting started. And that's why you more see it in the upper leagues and stuff, with the guys who are more experienced. But if you're acting like a jackass down here, like Come
Let's
on,
go-
bro. You know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
come on. Nobody, no, in the lower levels, like most guys are professional. I mean, if you're pushing and shoving during the weigh-ins, you're just
Yeah.
a jackass.
Yeah.
You're just a jackass. You know, that's all for show. That's all for show. And sometimes those guys probably are in on it with each other. You know,
True.
a lot of times. And
Pump up that pay-per-view, son.
exactly,
Seriously.
exactly. So
It does help. I mean, look what another example. I hate bringing up McGregor constantly, but like what he did with Mayweather.
oh
They,
yeah.
they went around the country and just shit talked each other like a concert.
Yeah.
He wore
Like
a-
it's so
He
obvious.
wore a pinstripe suit that fuck you.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
like embroidered on it.
Like, you know, they were just making fun of each other. Like, hey,
right.
let's get the crowd really riled up. I mean,
Yeah.
was that the biggest fight of all time? Like,
Yeah.
sales wise, I bet.
It's
probably.
close, I think, for sure.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Right up there.
And they knew, you know, that was all fake, you know.
I could definitely tell.
It's
I-
wild too because like McGregor has so much more pay-per-view, and yet Khabib like is just undefeated.
Yeah.
And is
Dude,
like way
insane.
behind McGregor in pay-per-view. You know?
Insane, dude.
Yeah.
It was cool to see Khabib too. Last card,
Oh yeah.
he helped.
The,
What's his name?
One
One of the guys in his
I forgot the
team.
name. Islam Makhachev or something.
Yeah,
Was
I
that
think
what it was?
that's close to it. I don't know.
Something
how to
like
pronounce
that.
It.
Something
Yeah, he
like
was
that.
good. His wrestling was real good.
Oh man,
I'm telling you, they're cloning those people out there.
Yeah,
They
yes.
all look like Khabib.
Yeah.
Like Russians already got cloning down. Don't even.
Man. Oh, when you say
couldn't-
cloning, I was like, I thought you meant like he's copying each other's styles.
Oh
but
yeah.
that's what they are doing.
Yeah,
like,
that's probably what they
you
are
know?
doing. They're very good at
Yeah.
their grappling. I mean, to the point where they're just as soon as it's on the ground, it's over.
yeah.
Dude, that arm triangle that he finished though, that's a wild angle for an arm triangle. I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like he'd
Dude.
finish it from half guard. It's like, damn.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. And the guy he beat too was really good. So
Yeah.
yeah.
How much experience do you have boxing? Did you at any point just take up boxing and then go into this, or have you just mostly been, sort of in the MMA
Well,
arena?
funny you bring that up. Like when I first started as like maybe 15, 16 getting into this, it was really about the boxing actually. And I told my dad, I was like, "Hey, can I get it? Can you get me into boxing? Like bring me somewhere?" He's like,
Yeah.
"No, you're not doing that." And I'm like, "Come on." And that's where we just started like from my basement and like every other weekend or something or whenever we would get friends together and we'd just like fight each other, you know,
Yeah.
and you know.
Well, it seems like a really
Yeah.
smart approach. And I say that because you can just sit here and talk, oh, yeah, boxing, punching, but there's like a sea of detail
Oh yeah.
behind it.
Yeah.
Because like somebody like me, for instance, I recently went with a friend to do some boxing class, and I didn't know how to punch for shit. I felt like I was just throwing my limp arms against a bag, you know what I mean? But there's a ton of mechanics behind it, and it involves your entire body. And if
Yeah.
you didn't practice that, so it's one thing to do it boxing with somebody who's
Right.
just slamming the pad against your fist going
Right,
into
right.
it. That feels great, but being able to implement it strategically, especially in an arena where anything goes,
Definitely.
grappling, anything.
Yeah, it's so important. Like, there's also the crazy part about it too is the footwork, right? That you don't look
Yes,
at.
you don't
know?
even
You're looking
realize.
at this guy punching, but you don't realize how much is going on down there.
Right.
And it's
And all
so
that
important.
determines how much force is behind the punch.
Yep, how much force, and if you're actually reaching him to punch him. It's
Right.
not about the arms to get him there. I could sit here all day and try to punch you, but if my feet aren't moving with that punch, I'm not going to be able to punch you. It's like a
Right.
car could have this beautiful engine, but if it don't got wheels,
Yeah, no, it's a good
it's not
point.
going to move you.
It's a good
anywhere,
point. Well, like
you know?
you might think somebody with big arms could punch hard. That has
Right,
nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it.
Has nothing to do with
Nah,
it.
That's all for look and bodybuilding and strength. But yeah, it's all
It's
about
definitely
punching.
like wild to think like how some people just intuitively like sort of know how far away they are from somebody,
Right? Yeah.
and then like just the punch is they're just far enough away for the
Yep.
punch to just stop right here.
Ooh.
Oh yeah,
You know?
it's crazy. Yeah.
Oh, I know.
And to bring back that, like, you know, you're talking about how important boxing is. I actually, like, I'm a firm believer that wrestling is one of the best bases for MMA. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, and the reason I say this is
Yeah.
because in wrestling, it actually has three features about it. You have the stand up where you're like on the feet,
Yeah.
the clinch where you're like hugging almost, and then the ground.
Right.
So in one sport, you're covering three aspects of like
Yeah.
a fight. You
And
know,
you could even say
I
that's
certainly wish I had more of a wrestling background for jujitsu.
yeah, and for any sport, jujitsu,
yeah, it would have
you
flattened
know,
your learning curve probably
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. But it's just crazy because you think about an MMA fight and how many positions are there? There's the feet, the clinch, and the ground, and that's wrestling actually covers every single one of those, you know. But of course, the boxing is, you know, I always think the one of the two best arts for MMA, from my experience, is boxing and wrestling, because if you have those two, you could win a fight easily. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion.
Well, it's great. It's great to have that foundation.
Yeah,
because then obviously you have a point of reference in which to fine tune that ability.
Yep.
Because once you know at least the basics,
Yeah.
you know what's right and what's wrong,
Right.
and then you can obviously tack on methods or skills or strategies to combine them.
And like, think about it like this: when you're boxing and stuff, and you could add on the kicks. The boxing is where it gets you into the positions where then you could kick, whereas the wrestling can get you into positions to do your jiu-jitsu, like for your submissions. So you know what I mean? It's kind of confusing, but the boxing and wrestling is really positionary stuff.
Right.
And then you could tack on the kicks. And then you could tack on the submissions with the jiu-jitsu.
It's kind of interesting how, like, wrestling sort of, like, you sort of have to shift it to make it, like, viable in, like, jiu-jitsu or in, like, a scenario where you could get submitted.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, because I find, you know, I'm sure you've seen it, like, people who have only wrestled, when they come and, like, start grappling and doing jiu-jitsu, they're always leaving their neck out and stuff.
Yeah, they're going to leave stuff exposed, you know. They're going to go too hard and then, you know, gas themselves out or something, you know. But yeah, for sure.
Have you ever thought about really getting more into jiu-jitsu?
So I do go to Springfield Submission Society.
Like, do you have any ambition to? Do you have a belt now, or are you trying to? Or?
I'm just like open, you know, like I kind of go in there with like no-gi.
Okay.
But I'm more of like if I was to like go into the grappling arts other than MMA, I would probably stick to wrestling. You know, I like jiu-jitsu, but it's just like, there's so much. Are
you more a stand-up person? You feel like a striker?
I'm more of like a ground and pound guy.
There's a lot of jiu-jitsu that's not necessarily practical.
I got
yeah.
That's
That's
a scenario where you could get struck.
Okay. Yeah. There's so many different styles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like one gym might show one style. Like your gym, in particular, has its own like.
10th Planet, probably has a lot of influence.
Yeah, for sure.
Right through like Eddie Bravo's stuff, or
Eddie Bravo is the
owner,
like the leader of 10th Planet.
Okay,
yeah. And they have like their own like style. It's almost like they're like nobody else has that style.
Yeah,
you know, they're their own thing. And then the gym I go to, Springfield Submission Society, they're more of a traditional, but they cater to us as well, you know, for the MMA guys. So they work with us, you know what I mean? Which we respect. And again, like the MMA guys from my gym go to that gym as well.
Oh, cool.
And vice versa.
I mean, learning's learning, and it's probably all contributive to the main objective.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Like they'll show exactly. And I like what you said about that, because they'll show like a jiu-jitsu only move, and it will involve a lot of like movement, which will transfer over to your MMA or even wrestling or whatever you're doing in grappling.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily have to be only for jiu-jitsu, because it's just like a concept. It's like
it's a level of control.
Yeah, a level
I mean,
of control.
look at what's that art where they're like kicking shit in the air ridiculously high. Like I mean, Tai Chi is a great example of control, but
yeah,
where
Taekwondo?
Taekwondo maybe
Something like that.
But where I'm going with this is, even in the time that I had done a few different reps with you for certain movements, the better you get at that, not only obviously do you maybe learn that exact movement, but you know how to control yourself,
right?
You know, through adversity,
exactly,
to get from point A to point B, regardless of what point A and point B is.
Well, it's just wild, like how just getting reps, like specifically with like maintaining like top position, right? Whether it be a wrestling or a jiu-jitsu scenario, like it takes so much practice and like understanding of your weight distribution and your body mechanics to maintain that top position.
Right. And to take away off what you were saying, I'm glad what you brought that up before too, is because you can learn other stuff that might not even be MMA,
right?
And it will transfer over to your sport.
Exactly. And in other words, it applies.
Yeah,
I would assume.
It applies, and not directly, like not like you're doing the exact thing, but just in a functional pattern movement thing.
It goes back to what you were saying, like strength. It becomes strength at that point.
Yeah, it becomes it almost like opens your mind. Not opens your mind, opens like your body to like developing yourself in another way, which internally develops you with everything else.
Certain level of conditioning.
Well, like yoga is great.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you know, that will doing that. It's not MMA or anything, but it will help you, you know,
You get that
in your sport.
flexibility, and
Right,
you're able
right.
to move in different ways.
Exactly.
Not only that,
Yeah.
but the cardio you get from ground game
Yeah.
is probably unparalleled. And I wouldn't. I'm saying that with very little experience. What's your experience with that? Like, is it harder? Because obviously, if you're all stand up game, shots to the head, shots to the body can wear you down just as much as anything
Definitely.
else. What is your opinion on that?
Well, I think it's like important to always train in every art, and then also do the MMA like we do, and do your conditioning, of course. But I feel like there's never enough cardio in a sense. Like
Yeah.
you could go to jujitsu and get a crazy workout, of course. You're gonna get a workout.
Yeah.
Then you go to boxing or kickboxing or whatever, and you're gonna get a whole nother
Yeah.
realm of a workout. And then you go to conditioning, and you're getting that. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like
I can't even imagine. That's actually a really great point. Like,
yeah.
like the amount of experience or experience getting hit in the head.
Yeah.
Because you gotta say you've never been hit in the head, and then you're going up to fight.
Oh, yeah.
The first time you get hit in the head, you could get starched. You could be thrown off completely
Right.
because you've never experienced that level of force against your body.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about control and knowing the distance and the feel. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
so important. And that's really what I like preach. Like is just control, like feel, all that stuff, and conditioning. And when we do the MMA, it's like, a lot of times we're doing like drills where like somebody's live punching at you. Maybe not 100%, like he's trying to knock you out, but he's coming at you, and you have to get the timing from the punches coming. You have to move your head, you know what I mean? And that all contributes to the sport. It contributes to all of that, and conditioning as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that probably compromises your conditioning pretty.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
And-
especially if you're constantly on the defense.
Yeah, like, especially even when you're just sparring.
Or you're on the offense. Yeah.
Yeah, even when you're sparring or fighting, if you're the one who's always winning, if you're always getting the shots off, you feel great. You don't
Right.
even feel tired. But when someone's punching you and you're like moving and you're like flinching, what that does to your rhythm, it throws off your heart rhythm because your heart is like beating so sporadically, then you get way more tired. So it comes back to what you're saying about the conditioning, or even in jiu-jitsu, if somebody's constantly countering your move or whatever, you have to like
Or
shift,
like if you're
shift,
constantly missing.
or if you're constantly if you're
Fuck.
constantly missing, same thing. Your heartbeat is just off rhythm, and then you're getting way more tired. But I'm telling you, when I was in the gym, just you're just peppering someone with the punches, and you're beating them up. You feel great. You're like, whatever. I'm breathing fine. But then he's coming at you, or both of you are coming at each other, and you're moving. And
Changes everything.
It changes everything because, you could go to the gym and hit a bag. You might get a good workout, but then add somebody punching you, and you're having to dodge those punches, and that your rhythm is off with your heart. It changes the game completely.
Yeah. That actually clears up a question that I had, because I was thinking, like, what's a better strategy, going for ground or going for the strike? And obviously, I don't think there's an easy answer to that. I'm thinking about Khabib and how refined he is at what he does.
Yes.
And it's like he makes it look like, well, obviously taking somebody to the ground and submitting him is probably the best way to do it, because from maybe somebody's perspective who doesn't know as much, you say, well, there's less options on the ground, maybe. I don't know.
Well, that's a good
there's
question.
a lot of options.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of options.
Yeah.
But I like that question. But when I look at a fight and I look at a fighter, right, I look at them and I take 3 things that I can work offensively,
Yeah.
and 3 things that I can work defensively. Now, taking those things, I'll go into the perspective of what game plan will I choose. Will I choose to strike and sprawl, which I call sprawl and brawl, which is a popular term, or will I take him down and ground and pound, which I call ground and pound, which everybody knows that. Will I avoid the ground because his jiu-jitsu is so good and just maybe dirty box him, like stay in close? Because
That's what I'm saying. It's scary when somebody's really good at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
Because as soon as you see somebody fighting somebody who's good at jiu-jitsu, you're like, fuck, it's over.
Yeah, because
They're on the ground. That's it.
As me
like-
being like,
The ground is like the ocean, and I'm a shark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And you're a minnow.
Yeah.
You don't want to go
That can
there.
happen.
If
Yeah.
somebody like, dude, a high level black belt jujitsu, man.
Yeah.
I haven't
rough.
seen
It's
like
rough.
a great example.
Hell, even purple belts can be.
Right.
Yeah, you got to be
rough.
careful. Yeah.
Of what it looks like when somebody's not extremely experienced, especially at a really
Oh,
high
yeah.
professional
Yeah.
level. Like look what happened to Adesanya. He couldn't he couldn't control Blachowicz worth a damn.
Yeah.
That guy could just sleep on him and he was
Yeah.
dead. He
Yeah,
was over.
Blachowicz had some weight
Weight,
on him,
yeah,
though,
Big
for
weight.
sure.
He's
Definitely the
massive.
weight.
The weight makes a big difference.
Is Adesanya's grappling good? I mean, I haven't
He
seen
actually has one of the best defense in UFC for takedowns.
Really?
Yes, that's what I'm pretty sure he does. He doesn't
That's
get taken down.
insane.
A lot of guys try to take him down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's important to be well-rounded in your game because Khabib obviously he's an outlier because he's so good
Right.
at just taking people down.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
that I think that can play into somebody's favor really well. Whether maybe they're just a striker, they're just an
Yes.
amazing striker. And obviously you can get a lot of wins. It's kind of like when you're developing a character in one of those video games. It's like you can have a little bit of everything,
Yes.
or you can be just really freaking good in one thing.
And I was talking to my dad about this when we were watching UFC, and I was like, you know what? Obviously having the skills is important, right?
Yeah.
Having the boxing, having the wrestling, that's so important. But I told him the most important thing in MMA is not just the skills, but knowing when to use those skills.
Yeah.
Should I take him down here? Should I punch here? Should I move here? Should I do when
Right.
should I initiate the jiu-jitsu? When should I initiate this? Should
Take
I
down or something.
You know what I mean? And knowing that will win you the fight because if you go into just boxing, there's not really much of a strategy. You just have to be betterly skilled than the guy. And even in wrestling, even in jiu-jitsu, because it's just one sport. But in MMA, there's multiple sports, so you just have to find the right avenue to win. I feel like that's obviously there's so much behind
that's a
it.
good point. Like know
Yeah.
your opponent.
Know your opponent, definitely.
Yeah.
But also don't overdo it by knowing your opponent. Like
Because they could fake you out.
they can figure out, right?
And then you don't get into
Yeah.
what you're good at.
Because if they
you know,
know,
what you're worried
if they
about it.
know that you know what they're bad at, what if they quadruple down on that?
Yeah.
And now you're
yeah.
banking on them being shitty at
Right,
that, and then they
right.
use that as a
100%. Like he said too, is like if you keep watching their fights and thinking about, oh my God, he has such a good head kick, he's gonna hit me with that. You start to just think about that, and you're just not even playing to your game. What am I good at?
Yeah.
What can I do to him? Now you're just on defense.
Yeah,
So you don't want to get stuck in
you
that.
always want
Yeah,
to be on offense. Like,
pretty much.
I mean, the oldest books on combat and war, like the Art of War, it's like you want to be first. You want to be the attacker.
yeah. That's like
is that usually the best strategy?
Yeah, definitely. As long as the weapon you choose is the right one.
Right,
You know what
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean? I swear by that. Because you just gotta be well rounded. You gotta be
Mhm.
well rounded and be able to adapt, because your game plan might not work. Like my last Bellator fight, it was on a week notice. So they
Yeah.
called me up. And
Shit,
yeah,
you just were
1 week. So
Damn.
in that 1 week, I was not able to prepare for my opponent.
What's your training like when you don't have an upcoming fight?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'm still active. I still lift. Obviously, I still train the MMA. I don't do crazy conditioning.
Yeah.
But I'm still doing pretty much all the training. And since I make the MMA schedule, it's gonna be a little bit toned down, in terms of cardio wise, but it's still the same almost. But it's not gonna be as intense. But yeah, I still stay active. I stay active. You know what I mean? That's the bottom line. Is always stay active.
Yeah.
Always build on your
a
skills.
certain level of idling is really important, and then
Yeah.
obviously ramp that up, get ready.
Ramp it
'cause
up,
last thing
yeah.
you do also, I forget who it was, but last thing you want to do is get injured training,
Yeah.
especially if you're not even going up to for a fight, right? I
Right,
mean,
right,
that would. I
definitely.
mean, I guess that'd be ideal if you were to get injured, is do it on the off
Yeah.
time, but still,
Yeah. And that's what I preach to my guys is anybody on the team. I'm like the captain of the team,
Yeah.
and I preach to them man, guys got to lift, because if you don't lift, you're not strengthening your bones, you're not strengthening your muscles to be able to take this impact.
Yeah.
To be able to get punched, kicked every day and taken down and all that stuff,
So you implement a lot of functional training, stuff like that.
It's funny. It's not really functional. I just go. I have a bodybuilder routine, but I think that suffices, because you're still strengthening everything and you're building yourself. Obviously, you're going to be a little bit more sore, but that's the thing. You're going to have to. It's a trade off. You're going to.
Well, you're
sore.
absolutely right. You strengthen obviously your bones, your muscles, your
Yeah.
tendons, all those things.
Yep, and you're going to be sore.
Yeah.
It's going to suck. Your performance is not going to be as good in the gym,
Right.
but it's a trade off. You're
Yeah.
going to be protecting yourself through the long haul.
Yeah, that's
know what I mean?
that's
Yeah.
a really great point, because I think
Yeah.
that's how most people get hurt. at all. It's through a lack of certain types of conditioning.
Right,
It's most people end up with an ACL injury because they have no knee strength. You know
Right.
what I mean? And they have no rotational control or
Yeah.
anything like that.
And it's funny you say like on the off season, most of the times I see people get hurt in my gym is they won't come for like a month, and then all of a sudden they come in and they just try to spar or do whatever, and they get hurt, because they been so inactive,
Oh yeah,
So,
inactivity is the new smoking, man. I mean, it'll kill you.
yeah.
Especially if you go from 0 to 100 all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about. I think Jameson had asked you, but so what is the game plan for the next Bellator fight? What is the word, and how are you preparing for that?
Well,
based off of how much you know about it, that is.
yeah, it's like I know Bellator has like a lot of shows coming up in the next coming months.
Yeah.
Like they showed their schedule, and there's a bunch of shows coming out.
Yeah.
So keeping that in mind, you got to stay ready, because you don't know.
You don't want to get that call.
Yeah.
And say you got a week.
Right.
And not be ready at all.
And that's what happened last time.
Yeah.
I got the call in 1 week, and I just like basically made up a quick game plan, and we tried to get as much conditioning as we can in before the fight, and I ended up winning. But the funny part is, in the fight with the game plan, I had one game plan, but we scrapped the game plan mid-fight because I wasn't prepared enough for that game plan. You know what I mean? So I went to my bread and butter, which was wrestling, and did that. Which was it the best game plan? No. But did it work? Yes.
Yeah.
But for Bellator coming up within the coming months, I'm just trying to stay active so I'm ready, because you don't know when I'm gonna get a call, or they could be like, hey, you're fighting in a month. It could be, hey, this guy backed out. Do you want to take a spot? And you got to be ready to take that. And the guys that are ready to take any opportunity at any time are the guys that get paid. The guys that are gonna go to the top. You know what I mean? Because
they'll recognize skill.
They'll recognize, not even just skill, like being ready, like
right. Yes,
you know what I mean. Like
the last thing you want to do is that's a fantastic philosophy for a lot of things. Like
anything in life.
If you don't show up, what the hell do you expect?
Right.
You know
Any job, if you're the first one at the door, you're gonna be the first one to get the job.
Even just from social integrity between people, you know what I mean. It's like a matter of being there when you can and
right. Yeah, and
being on time. I'm always on time.
Yeah, that's the.
yeah. Most of the time he's on.
I'm not the best.
No, I'm laughing at it. I'm always late to.
Yeah, my friend calls it Arab time.
Yeah,
because I'm Arabic, and he
no
says,
shit.
"Are you running on Arab time, bro, today?"
Yeah.
So that's one of those.
Dude, that's a
hard
real
things.
thing. I've heard that about like European time. Like everybody's at least an hour late. I'm.
No, you're just making shit
like,
up.
who was it was talking about that? Like when we were over in Portugal, it's like everything's sort of like whenever you get there, you get. Oh, you know what? It was Macaulay Culkin talking about that on Joe Rogan's podcast. I remember that because he lived in France for a long time, and everybody's kind of like, all right, let's do this, and then like within the hours around the time they had decided, everybody's there. Like they have dinner around 7. You know what I mean?
I think it's my family's the same. We have dinner so late, but I think it's funny how in America I laugh at it. Like they'll plan like a dinner like a month and ahead. They'll be like, everybody on this day we're gonna have dinner at this. I think it's so funny, because I come from like Lebanon and
no shit. Were you born there?
Oh no, I was born here, but my parents and everybody that's all
you been
from
there?
Yeah, I've been there.
No
it's awesome.
kidding. What's that like?
It's awesome. It's beautiful.
Yeah, talk about that. So you're traveling. Your family's from another country, so that must mean you get to see the world a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. The crazy part is like from my background, none of them have anything to do with fighting. I'm like the only one.
Yeah.
Even like my town, my country, it's not really like sport oriented or anything like that.
Probably a lot of business and.
A little bit of business, like a lot of business actually. All my uncles are businessmen. They came from this country with nothing, and they just made every single one had their own business. So it was pretty cool, And I think I got like that mindset from my family, like the go-getter kind of thing, And but Lebanon's really cool. I want to go back this summer and check.
Is that where that thing exploded?
Yeah.
What the hell was that all about? Did we ever find out?
I guess they stored this chemical or something.
Was it?
Than
Yeah.
they
What was it in?
should've,
Like a soil?
I say it's BS.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that one.
Yeah.
I think it's BS. But I heard that they were gonna unveil in court the president's death. Who did it? That's what I heard.
The president died.
Yeah,
Of the
he was
company?
murdered of the country.
Of
Yeah,
the country.
yeah, he was a car bomb. He got
Dude, we went into a
yeah.
wormhole, me and you. Remember? We were thinking like Lebanon got attacked.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So I remember that particular night. It was like me, you, Ian, and Moira
Yeah.
walking down the
We're
rail
like,
trail.
dude, there's an attack going on and they're
Shit.
keeping it like hush.
Yeah.
Like that's what we thought at
It
first.
kind of is like that in a sense. You know how stuff works, man. It's
Yeah,
like
with countries.
they hide stuff.
In
you know?
Lebanon, I mean, it'd be the Middle East, so
Yeah.
it's pretty. Everything's really tense out there.
Yeah, well,
And it has been
Lebanon,
for a long
yeah,
time.
Lebanon has always been pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
the country doesn't really. Back in the '80s and stuff, they had a lot of wars, but right now they've been pretty chill. They've been relaxed. They've been building their stuff up. And,
Yeah.
but you know, all the other countries surrounding it
It's
right
like
now.
feast or famine out there. Because look at
Yeah.
Dubai.
Syria.
It's like, blah, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like you go there, everybody's got a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
That the buildings go into space. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I know it's so funny because people like in my old gym, they would like be like, they think I was like some crazy guy. Like, you know, they would talk about like I'm Arab and they think I'm like some crazy guy. You know, I'm like, my country is nothing like that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's like it's not like that. You know, but you know, you gotta go there, experience it yourself. But
Well, yeah, depending on your political view of the
Yeah.
war, you have a ton of things. I have a great friend who served in the U.S. Army,
Yep.
and what a lot of people don't realize is that America was over there helping out a lot of Arabic people. Like they
Yeah.
were there. I have a flag somewhere. Actually, it's underneath Jameson there. It was for the coalition that was working with the civilians in
Oh, yeah.
Iraq.
Yep.
And where else was it? To
Syria?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
Actually, you want to? Don't even bother because it's kind of tucked under there. But it was it's kind of cool to realize that there was a lot of there was a lot more
Small like armies, right?
camaraderie going
Yeah,
on
yeah.
than you would think. Everybody
yeah.
just thinking, oh, this everybody that country's bad or something like that back then.
Oh, right.
You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
But not
right.
realizing that there was like people who
Yeah.
didn't like the radicals or weren't
yeah,
radicals. You know?
definitely.
Yeah, that's the flag right there. This thing was pretty cool. Shout out to
that's
Stephen Wade actually for giving me this because he was in the military over there for some time and it was working with a lot of great people over there.
That's
Shout
really
out to
cool.
Stephen Wade. Yeah, his son. Shout out to Brian Wade as well. Is in Japan right now in the Navy. I was supposed to go over there right before this whole pandemic happened.
Oh wow. To Japan?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
to go visit. I've never been. When was the last time you were over in Lebanon?
Actually, it was like 2014, so that's a while ago.
Yeah.
My brother got married over there. And
Oh, no
everything.
kidding.
Yeah.
What's the weddings like there?
Oh, they're wild. You know, they love to like dance and all that stuff.
Yeah,
And,
they're long.
They are long. They are long. You know. And it's funny you bring that up because in Lebanon I feel like there's always a wedding like every week, man. Like they get married like that. You know.
Yeah.
You know. But it's good the marriages last.
Yeah.
You know. But
Well, that's what it was when we went to Portugal
Dude,
for my
that was a fun
family's
time.
wedding. It was
Yeah.
a freaking 4 or 5 days
Wow.
long.
what?
Yeah.
Oh my
It
god.
was like 3 days of celebration
Dude,
and 2 days of
your
dinners.
family's nuts.
Crazy.
They had the ceremony like in a villa overlooking like a
Monastery.
church.
Yeah.
Right, and it's like
It's all
a 3-day long
cobblestone out there,
event.
you know.
That's awesome.
Unlimited wine, open bar, like
Food.
9-course
Like
meals.
actually,
and
like
shit.
a real like 7-course
It's
meal.
crazy.
And who got married?
It was just my cousins.
Oh,
my whole
that's the-
family, besides like me and a couple, are here in this country, but
Yeah.
the rest of them over there. And yeah, they got married, and yeah, food galore, a couple different buffets.
Amazing hospitality. Your family's just
Yeah, they did a great
your
job
family's
with
awesome, dude. Your
Yeah,
family's
they were
awesome.
very,
Yeah.
very fun out there, and it's all about eating and celebrating. So that's always the nice thing, because I feel like here, especially in America, the weddings that I have been to, it's like, come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's 5 hours and it's done. Okay, everybody go home.
You'll
Yeah.
hear the best man
Yeah.
giving a speech, and you'll
Yeah.
see people tapping their feet.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's gotta be huge to have the experience to. Have you been ever anywhere else before?
Not really. I wish I could travel more. You know,
Yeah, I know.
especially for fighting. You know.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because you're
Yeah.
gonna have to get used to it
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
going
you know.
forward, because it's
Yeah.
not like fighting isn't even around here, is it? I mean, maybe New York's the closest place if you were to go, like say down the road, you're probably
Yeah.
gonna end up in the UFC at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're gonna either New York, what is it, Nevada,
Oh, Nevada's a big one. Yeah.
and,
Vegas.
and
Las
then,
Vegas,
of
yeah.
course, Fight Island.
Yeah, that'd
So-
be cool. That'd be cool. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, right now because of the pandemic, you know, there's nothing in the New England area
I know.
for fighting, which sucks.
I've been signed up to this grappling tournament in Connecticut that's been pushed back like 2 or 3 times already. It's like, dang.
Well, speaking upon that, my gym is having a wrestling tournament May 23rd, or sorry, April 23rd. I don't even remember, but we're having a tournament. So if there's any wrestlers listening, there you go.
Yo, that's awesome.
Yeah, because we have a wrestling club, and we're trying to build it up more and get the word out.
So you guys sort of put on tournaments of your own?
This is the first one, but I'm planning to do every 3 months a tournament.
Nice.
And the reason for that is I was like, man, we really gotta like build this wrestling club because the MMA we already had it built from my basement.
And that gives people authentic experience. Does that go on the record too, or no?
It doesn't. But
that's not the point.
Just having the tournament.
Yeah,
is
the
fun,
experience
man.
is so
It's fun
important.
to
Experience,
compete.
yeah, and the fun. It's fun too, of course.
Yeah.
And especially because all the high schools, all the colleges have been closed. They're probably like, they want to get something.
They're just itching to get at it, you know?
I think the whole country's ready to just.
Yeah.
I mean, Texas just opened.
Yep.
It's awesome to see that happen. And I like what he had to say. The mayor, I forget his name, but it's like, let's be honest. However you feel about it, the reality is that it opened, but not with the thing like, oh, just do whatever you want. Of course, it's like, I think his take on it was the government shouldn't be telling you what to do. Obviously, proceed with caution as usual. Wear your masks if you want, just social distance if you want.
Right. Stay inside
but
if you're sick.
it's not our place to tell you that you can't open up your business or whatever. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of honor in taking that approach versus using tyranny to get the point across.
Right,
You know what I mean?
100%.
Like there's a lot of negativity that has obviously come out of it. I mean, look at L.A. LA's a ghost town kind of. It's
really?
pretty, well, there was a little bit of an exodus between a lot of people in the comedy community and various others. I mean, even Elon Musk, I think, moved his whole factory into Vegas. Or not Vegas, sorry. Nevada.
Was it because they were so strict?
Yeah.
Oh, I
yeah,
didn't
they're
even hear about
extremely
that.
strict over there and in New York.
Gavin Newsom's just like, oh, everybody make sure you put your mask on between bites.
Yeah, it's like that kind of stuff. So it's tough because
and then he got caught going out eating at a restaurant.
Right.
And
right.
He's like, I'm sorry, I should not have sat down at that restaurant.
So the reality is, it's a little insulting towards some people's intelligence, because let's be honest, it's certainly not ideal, and it makes it hard for anybody. Like, for instance, look how it's affected your career.
Yeah.
Imagine if you were a comedian or a musician.
Yeah.
Everybody in the entertainment industry, and let's be honest, fighting's entertainment. It makes it
definitely.
really hard to proceed.
Oh, and speaking of that, I play drums too.
No kidding.
Yeah.
How long you been playing drums?
Since I was 11, but
holy shit,
there's been nothing for that as well,
Yeah.
So it sucks. It's like.
Do you actually play with a band or anything?
I was with a little band, and I've had some stuff here and there. I used to play with this rapper.
No kidding.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of Matt Merity. He's from West Springfield.
Oh no!
No,
Shout out to him. Though.
Shout out to him, Matt Merity.
You said you heard of him?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll probably hear from him eventually.
We were playing every year in the Big E, and
Yeah.
obviously the Big E didn't happen this year,
know.
so we didn't be able to do
St.
that.
Patty's
What a
Day is
bummer,
definitely closed.
right?
Yeah.
Big E's.
Everything, man. It's just sad, man. It's crazy, but finally it's opening up. So everything's slowly, but it sucks, man.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It's getting there, and I'm very excited for it. And I have no negative feelings for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think people are more than capable. In other words, I am very confident that people are capable of doing what they feel is best for themselves. You know what I mean? And that's the bottom line. It's not a matter of anybody. I don't think anybody should be able to tell somebody what to do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
100%.
It's like, that's bottom line. I mean, what are you gonna? How can you argue with that?
I couldn't agree more, man.
It's kind of.
I couldn't agree more.
Regardless of my opinion or how it feels, it's just a matter of letting people do what they want to do.
Definitely.
Because there's a lot that needs to be done, and I think there's a lot of excitement built up for this. Plus, everything's been going good.
And
so
it's
far,
wild too, because I mean, exactly like you said, if you want to wear a mask and if you want to go social distance and do your thing, you can.
Or not go.
Right?
Or not go.
Yeah. And if I want to go, grapple. You don't have to go grapple with me.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Like, I'm living my life.
It is kind of weird how, like,
live
somewhere
yours.
along the line it said, yeah, it's reasonable to make everybody do what I want.
Yeah.
And then their whole thing behind it was like, they'd be like, oh, if you're not wearing a mask, you're disrespecting me because, that doesn't say that. But
Well, it's kind of the same. It would be the same approach as killing everything in the jungle just because it's dangerous to go in there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
And it kind of is the MO for humanity. That's how it goes. I mean, there isn't many carnivorous animals around here. It's because we just eliminate any possibility of danger to the point where like stuck in a cell observing life through a screen.
Very much.
Hopefully not in our lifetime. We'll get to see some fights. But I was thinking how freaking awesome it would be to go see a fight, and I'm excited because I now follow you. And getting to meet you is an absolute honor, by the way, too, Ali. I appreciate you coming in. The excitement behind seeing you and progressing, and I hope you continue to share content in that same regard.
Definitely.
Because like you were saying before, holding these tournaments and stuff is.
I'll tell you for sure, man, that seeing a fight is definitely wicked cool, especially when it's your boy. Like when they're just competing, you get so fired up. I love watching my friends compete more than I like competing myself. I'm just like, dude, hell
it's fun. Yeah, it's fun for sure. But you can watch any UFC. If you don't know who those two fighters are, you don't really care about them, right? Yeah. But then you watch a fighter, you might even seen one of his fights, and you're like, oh, I remember him. He knocked out that guy.
Yeah.
You get repetition, and that's how I became like an Adesanya fan, because I saw his last fight. I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait to see his next.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about him before, because I don't watch every fight. I don't get to see them all, but when I do, it's very exciting.
There's so many,
No, but finish my thought before is having those tournaments and stuff. Back to what you were saying about building that social media presence is huge, because you can involve more than just yourself in what you're doing, and then people start to collectively observe what you're doing.
I agree. I never even used to have a
Instagram.
No, it wasn't that. It was a thing like a fighter profile, like on Facebook. I've like an athlete page.
Oh, you have an athlete page?
I do. It's
okay. I'll put it below.
Yeah, I think it's VIP Ali. I changed my nickname, but and I had an athlete page, and I couldn't believe like that how much like I actually started to like it, because I'd be like, well, I can separate myself from Ali to the athlete, because on Facebook I remember I was just putting all my information as Ali Zebian, and I realized by doing that you start making yourself into just a fighter, and people will come up to you and be like, oh, the fighter, like when I was working at CNS, it was starting to piss me off, because every time I'd be working, they'd be like, yo, the fighter, or they'd say, yo, did you watch that fight? I'm like, bro, I'm working, man. And they started to piss me off. But
that's interesting.
Yeah, it would get annoying, man. I'm not, obviously I love like having fans and stuff, but it's like when you're trying to do something, you gotta get the job done. It would get old, and then people would introduce to me like, yo, this is my boy, or like, yo, aren't you the fighter, or something like that.
Yeah, it's good to be the part, though.
It's good, definitely. But it's sometimes, especially when I'm in the gym, I'll get people coming up to me and they'll be like, hey, didn't you fight in Bellator? Like,
yeah. Who's the guy who's also local to Springfield? Pat something.
Oh, Pat Casey.
You know Pat Casey?
I actually I see him at the gym all the time.
Yeah, I used to work at Best Fitness, and he used to work out there all the time.
That's where I go.
Yeah. No, you used to work.
I do.
Dude, I wonder if I've ever met you. I worked there for 2 years.
Well, I recently started going there.
Okay. So,
my gym closed.
For good?
For good. Planet Fitness bought them out.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, they changed it. But when I see Pat there, he's
Now, what does he do? Golden Gloves only? Is he only boxing?
No, he's MMA.
MMA? Okay.
He's MMA.
Does he fight Bellator as well?
He does.
No shit.
He does, yeah. And I'm not even sure what he's doing right now. I tried to get him over to my team.
Yeah.
Because I heard his team kind of shut down or something. I'm not exactly sure, but he's the kind of guy, he goes in the gym, he gets the job done, he gets out,
Yeah.
I see him all the time. I just say I got a little wave to him,
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's just like, I don't have to go in the gym and then like have a whole conversation about, my fighting or whatever, because I'm in there to do a job,
Exactly.
But, coming back to like the athlete page and bringing it out on social media is so important, because if they don't know who you are, and they see you fighting on the UFC, just to say that he's from my area, it's cool, but they got to get behind you. You know what I mean? And to get behind you, have to like your fights, they have to like your style. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot you can share, and that
yeah.
gives people a lot that they can follow. And
Right.
I think that's the importance, because
Yes.
at the end of the day, living right now in an attention-based economy, you can provide people with a lot of really useful and entertaining content.
Definitely.
To show people what you do, because what you do is extremely exciting.
Yes.
I mean, it's certainly beyond the norm.
Yeah, for sure.
Fighting people actually is like
Illegal. It's illegal.
Yeah, I know.
You can't just do it on the street.
Right, exactly. You start
Yeah.
you start freaking ground and pounding random people. It's a whole. It's not a sport
man.
anymore.
Yeah, you punch
They
one
come
guy.
up, it's
you're
like, what do you
going-
mean? We're just competing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is counting on my record, and
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
some
I never thought-
75-year-old like what?
I never thought about
Oh,
it like
dude,
that. I never thought about it like
McGregor.
that.
But-
That's a good, interesting way to put it because
Yeah.
I always wondered, like, obviously I'm in it, but people are so like fascinated about it. But it makes sense because it's actually illegal to do it
Yeah.
on the street or anywhere.
And I don't know. It's sort of a weird like step back, but also it is bringing to life the original form of entertainment.
Yeah.
So what I mean step back is it's
Gladiator.
kind of more of a barbaric form of entertainment. It's just people beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
At surface level.
Surface
that's
level,
that's how
yeah.
you could describe it.
Yes.
Obviously, this conversation we've been talking for an hour and a half about the insane amount of depth there
Yeah.
is within the strategy
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
required to
Definitely.
participate on that level.
Oh yeah.
To perform on that level. It's not just, you throw me in the ring with somebody my weight and both of us don't know what we're doing. It's going to be like laughable.
Sloppy, right?
Yeah. It's going to be like, what are these
Be
two
like
dudes?
Nate Robinson
Yeah.
and Jake Paul.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But where was I going with that? Oh yeah. So it's interesting because it's bringing back that more primordial form of entertainment.
Definitely.
Personally, my favorite. I don't like sports. Like I don't watch anything.
Soccer or anything like
nothing.
that. Yeah,
I
yeah.
kind of like soccer a
Yeah.
little, but
I don't really watch it either.
Never
honestly.
watched
yeah.
it. You know what I mean? And football. Jameson's here. He can smile at that, but I just talk shit about football all the time, just
I
just
actually,
making fun of.
I don't even watch it anymore. I watched
Yeah.
it in high school, but
Yeah.
I mean, I watch like the Super Bowl and like the playoffs sometimes.
I've in other words never been able to get into it. I nearly had a heart attack watching McGregor fight Mayweather. I was so excited.
Yeah.
Like for something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get really excited because I feel like there's so much on the line.
And and it's easy to watch too.
Yeah.
Like it's just two guys fighting.
Exactly.
My mom doesn't know anything about it. She doesn't watch it. But anytime she comes over,
You know the point.
She sees what's going
That's
on.
a that's a
It's
good.
Like
That's actually a really
football
good point.
is like so like
yeah.
kind of it's like what's going on.
Well, there's a dynamic to
Yeah.
the time. It's like, oh, there's 50 seconds left, and
Yeah.
to the average person, that's
Right.
not a lot of time. But in football, it's like that could
Yeah.
change the whole game 5 times over, right? That's a
it
lot of
definitely
time.
dictates what like your strategy is for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I mean, there's nuance and depth to every sport. I find.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I guess just in this instance, for myself, I can
Yeah.
say like I don't know what it is, but it's really it's really exciting.
You know what too is like not any other sport has blood like this. So when
Yeah.
you see a guy getting punched, you might even not even know what happened, but he starts to bleed.
Right.
So everybody understands what blood is,
yeah.
and one guy's bloody, one guy's not. So
Well, that's what I'm saying.
you
I
know
think
who's
there's
winning,
a little
right?
bit more of a primordial
Yeah, there's definitely some fights
relationship.
where like some guys just like are just so beat up, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
People have been
you
beating
need to
themselves up.
stop.
People have been beating themselves up since the dawn of time.
Right.
So
yeah.
there's like what I'm saying, that there's a certain level of gladiator to that. And
Definitely,
it's like,
definitely.
whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Or
For
sometimes if you don't have the stomach for it, I could imagine there's some people who are very bad at watching it.
Right,
Like,
right,
I can't
right.
watch these people beat the shit out of
Yeah,
each other.
yeah.
That's what I was laughing about watching the last card for the UFC. I'm like, everybody in that building had been tested 10 times over, and they're all wearing masks still. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
they're participating in an event which requires people to literally beat the shit out of each other, and death is a component
Yep.
of worry. You know what I mean? Obviously,
Potentially.
there's a referee there, but you never know.
You never know.
People.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in rare circumstances, it certainly can happen.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Well, it's not always in the ring that it happens. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
head
Exactly.
trauma.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really scary research.
Actually, I was reading a story about this dude who died from weight cutting.
oh shit.
Yeah.
And
I've heard of that.
it was one of the fight leagues over in
Japan.
Yeah.
right?
Asia.
Yeah,
somewhere
if you're
in
not
there.
healthy, that's probably back to that nutrition factor.
Yeah,
Like if you're
yeah.
gonna drop weight like that,
Yeah.
especially if it's a matter of water and like fat and whatever, all of a sudden,
Yep.
if you're not diet like nutritionally ready for that,
Yeah.
you might not have the micronutrients to sustain that kind of cut.
Oh, definitely.
And
yeah.
that's where you might find yourself having some problems. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I actually, to be honest with you, most of the time when people have to cut weight like severely, it's because they didn't diet actually.
Yeah.
Because they're like overweight
Mm.
and they're like, oh my God, I have a fight. Like I just got a call, like maybe in
Yeah.
3 weeks I got a fight, and then they're like trying to cut weight or something. And then like if they cut weight too much or like just overdo it, they ended up like getting dehydrated, and dehydration equals death, So
Yeah.
it's definitely happened. You've heard of wrestlers in high school getting killed from that,
Yeah.
So I wish they found a way to take out weight cutting, and I have some ideas.
Yeah.
But it involves like two
So in other
weigh-ins,
words, to make people stay at their weight.
Yeah, well, what I had in theory, like long story short, basically, I
Yeah.
had in theory like having weight classes where it's like, let's say for example, if you weighed 150 to like 165 or something, and you had to stay in that within those ranges, and it'd be cool, like like heavyweights, right? Some of the heavyweights in UFC, the range is from 230 to 265.
Yeah.
So sometimes heavyweights coming in, sometimes they're like 240, and the other guy might be 260. So that's a 20-pound difference, but they're allowed to fight. They're
Yeah.
not exactly 255
that's true. Yeah, because
pounds,
after
right?
the weigh-ins, they can just put all the weight back on, right?
Well, yeah, but the heavyweights don't cut weight.
Oh,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So I wish they kind of took that mentality to the lighter guys. It's a
Yeah.
little harder.
One of the ideas I heard was like testing like how hydrated somebody is
Yeah, they do that.
during weigh-ins and stuff.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Just
Yeah.
to,
And
just
And
to
if
make
they're-
sure.
And if they're dehydrated, like giving
Yeah.
them like saying the fight's off or something.
They should
Yeah.
do that because
Yeah.
these guys are cutting a ridiculous amount
Yeah.
of weights. Ridiculous.
And if you're really thinking about too, just for the sake of insurance, because that would be a real bummer. You got like a main event going on,
Yeah.
and then one of the people last minute just
and,
can't do it.
And that's the thing. Like, I love that idea, but the problem is these organizations, they already have to deal with guys getting injured, using steroids, and they
Right.
cancel fights because of that. They don't want to have to cancel a fight just because
well,
of
they
a
have a
weight
pretty
cut,
rigorous list of things you can't take. Not
Right.
even, it's not just steroids. It's like creatine. It's like all
No, you
these
can use creatine.
Oh, you can.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
like-
use creatine.
Oh, don't they have like isn't there a pretty? I don't know. You might know more about it, or you actually might know more about
Yeah.
it. Like certain types of amino acids you can't use, or something like that. Because didn't John Jones get like
Yeah.
canceled for something probably kind of minor?
Well, I heard that
Not
he was
canceled,
taking
but
like pills
disqualified.
for like sex and shit.
He's probably taking boner pills.
That's what I've heard, but I
That would probably do
don't
it.
really buy that. I don't really buy that. I don't know. I don't buy that thing. I think they were just trying to like make something up, but who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows? But
Well-
once you hit positive,
It's certainly believable.
like, yeah.
A guy of his stature, he's probably just laying pipe. Like,
hey, yeah,
It
who
happens,
knows? Yeah,
dude.
who knows? But to make it come up on a test, I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. But who knows? Who knows? Like, but as soon as they test positive, it's like you have the question, like, what were they actually doing? You know what I mean? Like, was it what they say? Like, or were they injecting something? You know what I mean? And that's what sucks. Like, actually, Bellator doesn't even test. They don't do. They don't
Oh,
do,
really?
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I
Actually-
was hearing about that.
They do random drug testing. Like,
For maybe higher events. Like, so when you competed, were
Yeah.
you like, do they have like a prelim and then main card
yeah,
event type
yeah.
thing?
My first time I fought for them, I was on the prelims.
Okay.
And they were doing random drug testing. Like
Okay.
after the fight, they'd be like, they'd call in like a name.
Oh.
They'd be like, "This guy, come in." And I was like actually telling them like, "Hey, can I get a drug test?" Because my nickname was Anabolic Arab.
Oh shit!
Yeah, because it's a reason why I had like
They give it
back
to you?
acne.
And a
Did they
block.
give? Did they give?
No,
that?
they didn't give it to me.
Okay.
But I was like, "Hey, can I get this so I could just show my friends like
Yeah.
like I'm not on this stuff, And but I changed my nickname now. My friend always calls me VIP Ali.
Yeah, I
so,
like that.
you know.
And that's your Instagram too.
Yep, and because I'm always like really slick to getting into places. Like at any like event, I could just get in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just get in. But we changed the nickname. And actually, Bellator, the second time I fought for them, they were like, "Hey man, you're gonna be on CBS. We really don't want to use this nickname, the
Yeah.
Anabolic Era, because
Yeah.
it comes with it like anabolics is like it could be potentially you're talking about steroids.
Yeah.
I took it as more of like I'm just trying to get big in the gym
Right,
and
right.
stuff, have that meathead mentality.
It's so
you know?
funny because I think being anabolic is perfectly natural, but there's
Yes.
steroids that are
Right.
anabolic.
Right.
So
They
it's
yeah.
a
Exactly.
biological thing
Exactly.
naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I get you what you're saying.
Yeah.
What kind of places did you get into? Or
Oh,
just
well,
like clubs and stuff?
everywhere. Funny story you ask is
Yeah.
I actually I snuck into Bellator like just as a fan. Like
Yeah.
before, this is way before. Like so what happened was like there was a bunch of people with tickets and stuff, and my friend was like, we were at the casino and they had the event, so I was like, let me go check it out. So there's people walking in on the side, like the workers, and I
Yeah.
just walked next to them like all cool as you know. Just,
Yeah, dude.
You gotta put on the face, you gotta put on the walk, and I walked with the workers, just walked in, you know,
Yep.
right to the venue, and
It's funny. You can be invisible by
Yeah.
just being natural sometimes.
It's all about your body, the way you walk, the way you look. If you're looking around everywhere like shit, you know, like
Well, there was
obviously
this this prank channel. I wish I could shout them out because I don't remember what their name was. But these two guys would literally put on reflective vests and a hard hat and walk in anywhere with a ladder.
That's it. That's it.
And it's like, who's gonna tell them no? These are construction guys. You know what I
It's
mean?
so funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely know, like, if I put on my tool bag,
Yeah.
because I repair commercial kitchen equipment. If I did that, then like
Yeah,
I
just
could
be like-
I could walk into like any kitchen
Right.
and be
Yep.
like, oh, I'm here to fix your fryer.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It goes back to like even Instagram. Like there's so many fake accounts where they're like one guy's just like hitting the pads or doing
Yeah.
whatever, and people follow it, and then you don't know what he's actually doing in real life. Like or he's doing like crazy flips, and which is cool, you know, but. What does he do? Like actually, you know, like you know, what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of fake stuff on there, and comes
It's
back.
like that,
Yeah.
especially just with the internet in general, with all kinds of different facets
Yeah.
of professionality. Like,
Right.
I work at a functional fitness facility. Like
that's
we're
cool.
all strength and conditioning coaches and stuff like that. And we've, in our time, been able to pinpoint people who are just really bad online coaches. Like they mostly
Exactly.
they mostly cater to their genetic
Yeah.
inheritance.
There's
like
so
they're just,
many out
they're
there.
just very
So
well
many.
built, and then they're giving
Yeah.
like this really piss poor.
They don't know nothing.
Guidance for people who are trying to train themselves. And
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
obviously
Yep.
you're not in it for you're just
Trying to get them likes,
chasing
and follows,
clout,
son.
chasing
What's
the
up?
clout.
Right.
Likes
right,
and
right.
follows.
Yeah, that stuff gets old, man. For me,
Yeah.
I've you know how many times I've deleted Instagram and I
Oh no way.
Yeah, because I just like I start like look at it. I'm like, yo, what am I looking at? Like,
Yeah,
get
I
off this.
know.
Like, go do something productive. Like, because I'll just be watching it and I'm just like,
Bro,
this-
it's so hard though.
It's
It's a
tough.
rabbit hole, man. It shows you what you want to see.
Yeah.
It
You know?
definitely. Like it's like I have this app blocker now that I've
Yeah.
had. It just blocks it, doesn't allow me to watch
Yeah.
it. But you can just like sometimes you just be sitting. I'll be like sitting and scrolling. I'm like,
An
yo,
hour
and right. And
goes
you're like,
by,
what are you doing,
wasted.
man? You know?
Oh, I did the same thing. I
Yeah.
was doing that a lot today, man. Just
Yeah.
freaking. Yeah, I can't tell you how much that bothers the hell out of me. And
Yeah, but for sure, I agree. You could see a lot of motivation on there as well. You can,
yeah,
you
yeah.
can, but as well as it goes the other way, where you're just watching crap or it's like fake stuff, or it's just
I hear you.
yeah.
So here we are. We're about an hour and a half, but I want to wrap this up. Let's go wild here, man. So say down the road, and we got to do this again too, man.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
gonna definitely keep an eye on you because I'm
Hell yeah.
actually really excited to
When
see
I
you
make it to the
perform.
UFC, right?
Well, what I'm saying, what I wanted to ask you is, when is it that they use this? What would your song be when you're on the main card?
Oh,
What
like
would your song be, man?
to walk out?
Yeah.
Oh,
What's your walkout song?
well, shit, man. It'd have to be either some like crazy electronica, like dubstep, or like some heavy metal. Like when I listen to heavy metal walking out, like
Yeah.
you've heard of deathcore genre?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Man, when I walk out to that, it just gets me in a completely
Turns you into an animal.
turns me into an animal. Yeah, yeah. I remember one of my fights.
Is there any songs in particular you'd ever think about? I mean,
Well-
it must be somewhat of a fantastic thought to have. Like,
Yeah, well, I can't think of anything in particular. But there's a lot of bands that I could shout out, that I would like. But there was this one, I forgot the name. Ah, man, I can't even remember the name right
yeah,
now.
I hate when that happens.
But it was this one song. I was walking out my amateur career,
Yeah.
and my mind just went blank almost. Not
Do they play the song always when you're walking out for
Oh, yeah.
everybody?
everybody,
Oh, okay.
but you choose it.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
choose it, yeah. And anything like hardcore, like I just like shut down. Like I just turn
Yeah.
into like a
Laser focus.
laser focus.
I've
laser
always
focus.
wondered if you could like get in somebody's head by playing a song that was like some whiny little crying song. Like,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
you walk out, like some weird thing.
Well, there's this guy in New England, Joe Giannetti. He always walks out to the same song, and it's like this. I don't even remember like Amy Weinberg or something like that.
Yeah.
Some like pop song that he walks out to. I feel like
out to Taylor Swift or something.
yeah, I feel like he does that to like piss off his opponents or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Something
What,
like
what would you do if some dude's walking out to
I'm a
that song
Barbie
and you're
girl.
standing in the ring waiting for him?
How does that
Right.
song? How's that song sound? Oh, my tra la la, my ding ding dong.
Yeah, that's the opposite.
And you're like with a silk robe,
Right,
just like-
right, yeah.
Punch in the air like
Yeah,
they do.
yeah.
Trying to get in their mind. Yeah.
That would be hilarious. Oh my god! I guess you're absolutely right. That could be
Yo, there's your
a
new
strategy.
fight strategy, bro.
Well, some of those songs, like, it isn't even specific, but I'm sure there's some type of stigma that starts to set in when you hear somebody's song who's been doing very well. Like when I'm sure, like
yeah.
fighters who've heard Foggy do. What's the name of that McGregor's walkout song? You know, like
Oh,
dude,
Notorious,
it's
right.
super epic, dude. It's super epic,
yeah,
for sure.
it's the Foggy Do, that Irish song, you know,
Yep.
Yeah.
or whatever Foggy.
I
Morning.
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Anyways, I'm sure that the consistency of the song that you play ends up becoming
Moniker.
stigmatizing. You know,
Yeah.
you're like, shit, this is happening. This is the person I'm fighting.
Oh,
I
definitely.
hear that. I've
Yeah.
heard it before, and I've seen what happens after it. You know what I mean? So
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
there's that. There's that. There's
I've
that component
seen
as well.
what happens after it.
Yeah.
Ground and pound.
Yeah,
Yeah,
ground and
yeah,
pound,
yeah,
VIP Ali.
Yep. They already know.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for coming on, Ali. This
Yes,
is
sir.
awesome, dude. And it was
Thank
great
you.
to meet you, too. Shout out
sure.
to Matt Basinger for
Matt
obviously
Basinger, my boy.
freaking introducing me to you, bro. This
Hell
has
yeah.
been great.
Hell
I feel
yeah,
like I feel like that was a really awesome conversation. A lot of people could learn a lot,
Yes. Hopefully.
too. And maybe even tack on to the journey because I'm definitely going to be tuning in, bro.
Hell yeah,
I
man.
really do look forward and with everything opening up, people getting back into the fight, you know.
Yeah. Hopefully, New
continuing
England
the career.
opens up.
Yeah,
and we'll
dude,
be able
seriously.
You'll be able to see some guys from my team. You know.
Yeah.
Some of my fights. Hopefully, you know. Yeah.
Exactly.
It'd be awesome. Yeah.
Well, shout out to all of them and thank you again for coming
Yes, sir.
on, Ali.
Thank
All right,
you.
guys. Have a good one. Peace.